Hey, what's up guys? Mike here. Today we are checking out the 25-gallon cube, doing an update for you. We have a little bit of an issue in the tank right now, and we're going to solve it by adding a fish to this aquarium. And it's not going to be the, fish that we're going to be putting in this tank to stock it, but just in the meantime, before we get those fish, we're going to put somebody in here to help with the problem. A couple of days ago, I added some stems of Liguigia that I had growing in a pond out in the backyard. And now, a couple days later, I noticed some hitchhikers came in with those plants. And so, you can see here, there's one, it's a little blurry, but we have a mosquito larvae. And there's probably like 5 or 6 of them in this tank. I started noticing them yesterday, and obviously, I don't want to have mosquitoes hatching in the lab. So a really good way to deal with these guys, especially if you have a lot of them, is to just add a fish. Let a fish take care of them, because mosquito larvae are great protein-filled food bites for just about any fish. And we have a really special fish that we're going to put in here, guys. It's one that you don't know about, and I'm excited to show him to you. All right, here he is, guys. He is a little baby rainbow fish that was actually out in one of my holding tanks out in the garage. So what had happened, several months ago was I moved some plants from my 125 where I have all of my big rainbow fish, a multitude of different species, and he came in on a plant, and he came in as an egg. So he hatched in just a random plant holding tank that I have out there, and I didn't do anything special for him. He was able to grow up and get to the point where he could eat tiny little flake food just all on his own. I didn't do anything special like, provide him brine shrimp or anything like that. He made it on his own. He's a strong little guy, and I'm excited to get him into this tank. He's been out in that holding tank now for probably, I don't know, like 4 months. 4 months ago, I think, is when we first noticed him. And so the interesting thing about him or her, I don't know which sex it is. It's a little too early for me to tell, at least. But I'm trying to figure out what kind of a mix he is, because I have so many rainbow fish out there. I have Bosemani, I have Trifasciata, I have some dwarf rainbows, I have turquoise rainbows. I've been trying to figure out maybe what he's going to be, and so I'm having a feeling that he's actually mixed with a Trifasciata. So he at least has some Trifasciata in him, and I think that just because of the pattern that the fish is showing so far. He's kind of freaking out right now, and obviously his coloration isn't going to be that great. But if you look down his lateral line, you can see a lot of red and some speckling, and it looks very much like something you'd see in a Trifasciata. And so those fish that I have out there could have crossed with a number of the other species. I don't know. We'll have to wait and find out as this fish matures. He could just be a straight, Trifasciata baby. So he's gonna appreciate being in his own tank now. I mean, he was in his own tank before, but in a nice aquascaped tank, and he's got some free food floating around in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and put him in. He's been acclimating here to get used to the temperature. It's pretty close to what he had out there, but we're gonna go ahead and add him in and quickly watch him eat some of these mosquito larvae. Hopefully he's not shy when I put him in and he goes right for those larvae. I didn't really expect him to go too crazy as far as eating the larvae right away, and you can see here he's just kind of hanging out up at the top, getting used to his new tank. But I give it like a couple hours before he's really swimming around, checking things out, making sure the environment is safe and everything's cool, and I bet at that point he's gonna start to really chow down on those larvae. Rainbow fish are jumpers, and so with him in this tank with no lid, I am gonna need to put something on the top just to make sure that he doesn't jump out. So I have some egg crate out in the old aquarium lab, which I'll grab and maybe cut a little bit to fit on here just in the meantime for him, because I don't want him jumping out. He hasn't seen enough life yet. So we need to keep him around for a little bit longer. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the tank, give a little update on it, besides what we just did, kind of talk about the plants and what's been going on in this aquarium since we set it up. I should also say now, because we added a fish, the tank is cycled. It's been set up for a couple weeks now. We ran through, we got all of the ammonia out, we got all the nitrite out, and we're keeping the nitrate to a minimum. And so the tank is safe. We're pretty much all ready to add the main fish that are going to go in here. Upon that time, we will take this little rainbow fish out and focus on those fish. But until then, we'll get rid of the larvae in here, and then we'll find him a new home. But yeah, the tank, you know, it's been doing pretty good. Keeping the white sand clean, even though there hasn't been any fish in here, has still been difficult. And so I'm kind of, I don't want to say I'm nervous about the white sand, but it is definitely going to be something that's going to take more of my time to keep it clean. And something else that I didn't mention in the setup video regarding the setup of the substrate in this tank, this island type aquascape, you don't need to put soil everywhere. And so in the setup, if you guys haven't seen it, I'll put a link in the description. I put in the earthworm castings basically everywhere, you know, in the entire tank. And if you're setting up an aquarium where you're only going to have plant growth in a specific area, you can add your soil in just one specific area. You can add it just where your island is going to be, where your plants are going to be growing and rooting from. And so the reason why I didn't do that was because if I want to change this aquascape at any point, you know, completely flip the script, get rid of the island and just have stuff everywhere, I have that option. Now, the only downside is that while the tank is like this, cleaning the white sand, because it has soil under it, is going to make it really difficult. Every time you siphon or try and, you know, pull stuff off of here, it's going to take sand with it, so I'm going to have to add sand back into the tank every so often just to, you know, keep it looking fresh. So if we didn't have soil under here, it would be a lot easier to maintain. I could go in, I could take out as much sand as I want, I could clean it really good, I could add stuff back, but because I have the soil under there, I can't really get in there and vacuum the sand very well. So it's just one of those things. I decided to do it, and I'll just have to live with that decision, but it gives me that flexibility of changing things, completely changing things later on if I want to. But plant-wise, you'll notice that things are doing really well in the tank. A lot of vertical growth is taking place. We have some Liguigia that's really starting to head up the center of the tree here. The Rotala is also doing pretty well. It's turning a little bit more green than I initially had wanted, and so I think that's just a result of the light. You know, this isn't a very strong light. The Kessel A80 tuna is more or less meant for like a refugium type setup, and so, you know, this is a fairly deep tank, but I don't hate it. You know, I think it's still, you know, we still have a lot of pink in here, and we'll just see how things go. You know, we can always swap it out, get a normal Kessel, whatever it's called, and bump up that par and get these plants turning a lot more red. The Cryptbalanceae in the back is starting to send up some leaves. I'm really excited for that plant to take over this tank and really get some big, you know, single leaves coming up out of the tree. And, you know, we'll start to trim this back. You know, we're going to try and create sort of a triangle here with the Rotala, so some of these pieces I'll cut back to try and, you know, get the right shape that I want. But for right now, I'm just letting everything grow out, and we'll make some decisions here in the next couple of weeks as far as trimming and things like that. Mosquito larvae are actually like a really great food for fish, and, you know, the ponds that I have out in the backyard, sometimes I'll add mosquito dunks to kill all of the larvae so I don't have that mosquito problem. But right now, this year so far at least, I haven't done that, and I just go out like every day with a big old net, grab a huge scoop of mosquito larvae and add them to my 125 tank and feed that tank with all of those protein-packed larvae. They love it. They love getting live foods for a chance. I need to do that more, but you know, it's just one of those things, like, you know, if you don't mind having some mosquitoes in your backyard, you know, maybe you have them anyway, but, you know, I think it's a personal choice whether or not you want to deal with that. But for me right now, I can handle it, and every day I go out there and, I mean, just decimate the population of mosquito larvae, feed them all to my fish, and they absolutely love it. So anyway, guys, I think that's going to do it for today's update video. I hope you're liking the tank so far. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe and check out all of the cool fish tank stuff that we're doing over here. I'm really excited to start setting up the new tank, one of the new tanks, here in the next couple of days. I'll be getting that video out to you guys as soon as possible. So if you want to name the little rainbow fish up here, let me know. And once we get a few more tanks set up, we'll find him a nice little home. I have one tank in mind. So anyway, thanks again so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.